Hello and welcome. Now I'm going to share with you 15 tips / step-by-steps of how I would approach minimalism if I was brand new. Now this is completely specific to me as a person, and this is a video I personally would have wanted to watch at the beginning, and a lot of things I'm going to share with you, I still do them to this day, but they are very much the way I would do things, and therefore please don't take it word for word and go, okay, this is exactly how I should do it, but hear the things I'm going to say and appropriate them and work with them, use them in whatever way you want to make sense for you. Like, minimalism is a tool that you use to make your life easier, not to do it the way I choose to make my life easier. And I just find it great because it helps me to quiet down my external so I can really focus on what's going on inwardly for me. And then once I've kind of arranged the stuff that is coming up for me inwardly, then I suddenly have all this space and energy to put towards the things I love and the passions I want to give more of my time to. So anyway, I'm going to jump straight in. I wrote down my tips in a book, so I will be looking down to read them all because my memory is somewhat foggy sometimes. So I'm just going to jump straight in. So the first one is to find a dedicated amount of time that you are willing to try and give this your best shot for. So, you know, you can say, oh, I want to start decluttering, I want to start doing minimalism, but if you don't sort of like give yourself a specific goal, I think then it can be very easy to kind of blow it off and be like, ah, it doesn't matter. So I would suggest just going, I want to give this like a month, I want to give this 3 months. It really depends on how much spare time you have as a person and how much of a physical space you need to declutter, if you have a whole house versus if you have a whole room, whatever it is. And to also give you time that isn't just focusing on decluttering things, but also just taking a bit of time to analyze the process you're going through. How is this making you feel inwardly? Are you noticing any differences, or is it just purely a physical difference? So anyway, dedicate a certain amount of time, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is. Just go, this is the time I'm going to give it, and I'm really going to give it my best shot and see if this is something that works for me. If it doesn't, just throw it out the window. You don't actually need minimalism in your life if you don't feel like it's of value to you. So the next thing I would say, number 2, is to cut out the flow of the new stuff coming into your life. So stop buying things, stop ordering stuff from Amazon, stop accepting freebies, or I don't know, letting your friends who have done a big decluttering give you all their clothes because it's free and you usually would take that. Just cut those things out. I mean, if it's your birthday and people give you presents, I don't know, don't go to too much of an extreme, or maybe do. Just see what works for you. But basically, just to cut out that flow, you've got to change your habits, you've got to change your relationship to the stuff, because the stuff is clearly built up. It's become somewhat of a problem, or at least you're starting to notice it and think, is this what makes me feel like I'm just not coping so much? Is this the thing that's weighing me down? So just cut it out, don't bring it in, see how you go. Now the next thing is to start kind of just evaluating everything you have, and that doesn't mean like consciously you need to walk around and go, I have this and I have this and I have this, but to just start being aware of all the things you have in your house. And whilst you're doing that, step 3 and 4 are combined together is to show gratitude, man. I mean, like, you've been able to purchase all these things, you've been able to afford all this amazing stuff that's coming into your life. You're actually a very lucky person, and you know, having all these things isn't a bad thing. What's bad is the fact that it's become an unconscious relationship to stuff, and the things are kind of starting to own you instead of you owning them. You know, they just take up a lot of space and a lot of maintenance, and you're not getting much value out of them. So it's kind of like an unbalanced relationship you now have. But to be grateful for the fact that you actually got all those things. And I'm just going to say this, that being grateful and having gratitude when you're going into decluttering and going through this process is a much better feeling and relationship to have than being frustrated and angry and just stressed and overwhelmed. Like, try and quiet down those feelings, even if they may still be there, and try and just be grateful for everything you have. And one of the things I really love from Marie is she says, like, when you are deciding to get rid of an item of clothing or whatever it is, like, thank that thing that's come into your life for all that they have done for you in the past. Even if they don't do anything for you anymore, just thank the thing for that and just show gratitude for it, because I think that's just such a nice positive way to look at it. So the next thing is to just, step 5, find a zone, a corner, a place, preferably near a door or an exit of your house, because you can grab it on the way out, where you're going to put the things that you are decluttering. Just make it simple and easy, and just having a place where everything goes when you've decided to declutter it. It's kind of like the zone that is in your house, but in your mind it's no longer in your house. But also remember to always keep clearing that zone, and don't just let a big pile of stuff build up. The next thing, number 6, is get inspired. Totally feel free to browse the internet, watch videos like mine and other people's, and get inspired and try and find things about the way other people have attempted this minimalism thing that kind of works for you and that you like the idea of. And yeah, get totally inspired, but do not feel pressured to play the numbers game or to do it in any other way other people would. And there's also lots of different like decluttering methods and decluttering things you can do, like packing parties and all this good stuff. One of my most favorite inspirations is a book called Goodbye Things by Fumiya, I believe is how you say the name. So if you, I can link that in the description or something. You can look up that book and you can listen to it on YouTube for free, because it was on Audible, and then people just put the copy on YouTube for free, so you can listen to it if you would like. But yeah, get inspired, but don't take it too seriously so that you feel like you have to do it the way someone else does it. You gotta do you. You gotta find your relationship to minimalism. So the second thing is to decide, seventh thing is to decide your categories, and I would break it up very specifically to the way you do it. Con-Marie suggests to do this as well, and she has a very clear category list herself, and she tells you exactly which ones to do first, which is, it's cool. It's nice to have that as a structure, but just to create categories for your own sake. And once you have created them, you know, if you're a drawer, you have drawing things. If you're a photographer, you have photography equipment. If you're a book person, you might have different categories of books, like fiction books and school books or whatever it is. Break it into categories. If you're clothing, if you have lots of clothing and you have like your work clothing and then you have your everyday clothing, you can break it into categories like that. But essentially the reason to have the categories is so that you can then order it into a way that is least sentimental to most sentimental. So start with the things you have the least emotional attachment to, and then work your way through up to the things that you have the most emotional attachment to. And for Con-Marie, that's why she suggests that you start with clothing. But for someone who might be really passionate about fashion, that might be a very hard place to start. So start where you feel like you're not going to have too many emotional reactions to it, because you're just trying to start to hone your decluttering skills. So that's number 7. Number 8 is to now to use had to read my notes is to now use any spare time you have to do the decluttering. I mean, not any spare time, you want to also just have downtime, but when you do have spare time, then you can start tackling those categories. Like I said, I find it really fun to just write each category on a post-it note and put it all on the wall, and then as I go through the category, I just take the post-it note off and put it in the bin. So yeah, then you can really just sort of have a tick off system of each category as you go through it, and just do it in your spare time. You might be someone that works full-time, you might be someone that has lots of spare space, you might have like a whole weekend you can do it. Whatever you want to do, like, just take your time with it. Even if you do have several, like 2 weeks where you're like, I'm just going to declutter everything now, I think it's important to also do it somewhat gradually, because then you'll be able to become more noticeable of like any inner changes you might have. That's coming up in further steps. So next one is to be mindful. This is what I was going to talk about. Step 10 is to be mindful of all the changes that are happening. You know, if you do declutter your bathroom cabinets or whatever, and it's all really nice and organized because you've got the toiletries you need, and not the other random stuff that you had before, and you open your cupboards and you're like, oh, that just feels so nice. Like, take note of that, positivity, and really try and work with it. And then when you go and open your closet that you haven't tackled yet and you feel like, oh, it's too stressful, like, be aware of that shift and that difference, and see if that sort of ricochets into any other aspects of your life and how you feel for the rest of the day, when it's been really easy to get things done in the bathroom but it's been a nightmare trying to choose clothes, for example. Like, see how that affects your day. So number 11 is to document this in some way. Take before and after photos, film videos for YouTube if you want. You can create a journal. I think a journal is an excellent way, because then you can also sort of talk about your emotional feelings, I guess, and like what's going on for you inwardly. Are you experiencing less stress and feeling like you're more on top of things, and you might feel less anxious about stuff, or whatever it is, like, or it might be totally opposite for you. You might be like more obsessive compulsive around things, and you might feel like really stressed out when everything's all organized and in the right place. It might actually make you feel uncomfortable. That is the case for some people, and when you start to notice that, go, okay, I need to do this minimalism thing differently, or this thing just doesn't work for me. So take note and be aware of that by documenting it in some way. Don't forget to give the things away, of course. So that's number 12, is to make sure it doesn't just build up that pile, like I said, and that you are giving things away, but also to really try and do it in an appropriate way and give it to people that are really going to use it. Donate it, give it to these homeless shelters that often need clothing and things like that. Really try and find a positive way to get rid of things instead of just throwing it all in the trash or whatever it is. Really try and find, yeah, a nice way of doing it. So the next thing, which is number 13, is kind of once you start to feel like, yeah, I notice a difference, I feel different about this, I've stuck to not being able to bring new stuff into my life, but now I feel like I can let down the intense strictness and I can sort of let things to start coming, new things start coming into my life. Feel free to start doing that, but to really bring the intentionality that you've kind of learned over the last period of time, whatever that might be, to the new stuff that's coming in, and really evaluate and be like, is this something that I really want? And yeah, just being more conscious and intentional now with the things that are going to come into your life. You know, you can't never not bring anything new into your life ever again, so just being aware of that as it does come in and how you're going to work with that. So that's number 13. Number 14, which can kind of be applied at any point and at any time and should be applied, is to clean while you go. You know, as you're decluttering, definitely clean your space at the same time, because moving things around, moving the space energetically with cleaning, if one can say that, really does help to make a difference, you know. And I also find that if I like move my bed from one side of the room to the other, like getting a fresh start by moving things around and keeping things fresh is a really nice thing to do. And number 15 is to be aware that you are now in a consistent balancing act, and that, yeah, there's not an end point. It is a constant relationship. Minimalism doesn't solve all your problems at all. It just actually sometimes gives you more space to focus on even more problems you didn't know you had. So for me, you know, I still get the cravings to want to buy things and to want to consume stuff and bring new things in, and that's okay, but I also feel like I have that consumerist voice in my head, but I also have a bit more of a rational and clear-headed voice that says, do you really need that? Are you sure you want to bring that in? And it can kind of reason with that, oh, let me get these new things. Like, I think I looked into bullet journaling and I was like, oh, this looks really great. I'm going to go get the bullet journal. I'm going to get the pens I need. I'm going to get the watercolors and all this stuff. And then the voice in my head that I've developed from minimalism said, hey, if you really want to do bullet journaling, you've got to practice the act before you go get all the stuff for it. You can do it with just any notebook and pen. Just really start practice journaling every day or whatever. Like, get into that habit before you go and buy the things first. So anyway, that is just my couple of tips. I hope they are helpful for you in some way. Please take them and leave them as you wish and change them and be inspired with them, but please don't feel like you need to stick to them in any way, shape or form. And share with me any tips you have, or thoughts or ideas or things you've noticed from minimalism in the comments below, because it's great. It's great to be able to share what we think and how we feel, because it just makes things more interesting than if we don't. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Bye!